Des Moines, Iowa, the Drake Relays preview of next year's Olympics. 120-yard high hurdle. Long-striding Harrison Dillard of Baldwin Wallace College breaks in front and stays there. 14 1/10 seconds, a new Drake record, and the 19th straight timber-topping win for Dillard. 100-yard dash. It's a well-matched field, but out of the pack, Bill Martinson, nearest the camera, explodes to the tape. Winner by an eyelash. A first place for Baylor. The staggered start of the collegiate quarter-mile relay. This is always a crowd pleaser with its snappy baton passing. Texas University anchorman inherits a lead, and brother, he hangs on to it. Looks like our speedsters are ready for the world and the Olympics.
San Francisco. Spotlight on the telephone strike. Mass picketing by some 2,000 telephone workers is broken up by San Francisco police. 27 men and women are arrested. The demonstration was staged as a protest against an order that limits picketing to 6 marchers in front of any one building. Violence flares on the principal scene of action. Half a block away at the main telephone building, the legal number of 6 pickets keep to their posts. One of America's great labor centers makes news in the telephone walkout. Meanwhile, in Detroit, some 500,000 automobile and other workers leave their jobs to protest labor legislation pending in Washington. Among the speakers here is Leonard Ruther, brother of the UAW president. It's the latest in a series of demonstrations in labor circles against plans to outlaw the closed shop and industry-wide bargaining. R.J. Thomas, UAW vice president, charges monopolies with attempts to destroy the labor movement. Action over labor laws mounts to a climax. Back to the nation's capital comes Secretary of State George C. Marshall, home from the Moscow conference with his report to the American people. His return marks the end of 48 days of inconclusive discussion by Big Four leaders. President Truman is at the airport to welcome Marshall back with warm words of praise for his work abroad. Later, referring to the conference, Marshall reported on the painfully slow progress in Moscow, charged Russia with making propaganda appeals to passion and prejudice, and warned that the fate of Europe cannot wait on what he termed compromise through exhaustion. Now, he says,
we've had a very important mission, and I and my associates have done our best to represent what appeared to us to be the best interests, not only of the United States, but of the world, towards a peaceful future, and one where people can have peace of mind and some of the ordinary comforts of life as soon as possible.
The flaming issue of Palestine goes before the United Nations. At the first special session of the 55-nation General Assembly, Oswaldo Harana of Brazil is elected president. The extraordinary session on the strife-torn Holy Land involving the British, Jews, and Arabs was requested by Great Britain. Soviet delegate Gromyko. Members of the Arabian delegation who have raised demands for the Holy Land's full independence. Faris El-Hori, chief representative from Syria, has this to say.
We allege that the obligations of the United Kingdom under the mandate are in conflict with its obligations under the Charter of the United Nations and contradictory to the provisions of the Covenant of the League of Nations. This legal aspect of the case does not necessitate a committee to find facts It needs more a sense of justice and fair dealing.
Elsewhere at a press conference, the chairman of the Jewish Agency for Palestine, Dr. Abba Hillel Silver, states his views. Members of the Jewish Agency did not attend the first UN meeting.
The Palestine issue is now before the United Nations. We hope that the conscience of mankind will ensure the progressive and continued development of the Jewish national home, into which so much of labor and sacrifice have gone.
The United Nations faces a problem that may well prove to be its greatest test thus far, the fate of Palestine.
This is baseball's one and only Babe Ruth in his prime. This was his specialty, the towering homer, the Ruthian squat. 60 in one season, still the record. The Babe hit him and ran him home with a flurry. And this is the house that Ruth built, with his big bat and bigger heart. And today in Yankee Stadium, 58,000 come to pay tribute. It's Babe Ruth Day, here and across the country. So the Babe is where he belongs today, at home in the Yankee dugout with Bucky Harris and an old Yankee teammate, Joe DiMaggio. Here to help in honoring Ruth are Cardinal Spellman and Baseball Commissioner Happy Chandler. And now, out of the dugout steps a familiar figure. No, not quite familiar. Worn and weakened by illness, the Babe makes no pitchers tremble today, only the hearts of those who remember. Yes, they remember, Babe. Then, in a voice broken by illness,
"Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. You know how bad my voice sounds. Well, it feels just as bad. There's been so many lovely things said about me, and I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to thank everybody. Thank you.
it was a tough day for a sick man. But even though such excitement is a hazard to his convalescence, the big guy wouldn't have missed this day for all the world.